This podcast is sponsored by Relevant. It's a new iOS app to consolidate the media you want to see in a place you control. With Relevant, you stay up to date with things you're actually interested in. You tell Relevant what's relevant to you, and you'll be given all the content you love from all across the internet, all in one place. It's available on iOS devices and coming soon to Android. Be the first to know with Relevant.
What's up, everybody? It's the Poorly Edited Podcast, and I'm your host, Chandler Davis, coming at you live from the WXLV, the X. I'm here with the rest of the crew.
My name is Coffee Guy.
My name is Patrick Lilly.
We got Josh Brennan on the camera. We got Amrys Faro in the building with the social media. I'm doing it on purpose now. And we got our special guest.
Oh, this is when I say my name.
Go for it.
Noah Hessinger. I don't know why I said it that way.
First time on the radio. It's all right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a show or anything.
No?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
First time.
Get to that.
Lizzie Cates is also behind me. And she's doing...
What is Lizzie Cates doing?
Nothing. Good. Nothing.
She really contributes.
It's all good. It's all good. Hey, she made the vlog, the BTS, Danny Crazy Yates's Weight and Sauce vlog, the BTS behind his scenes of doing the photo shoot.
Is that a working title?
Yeah. It's the whole title.
That's the final title. It's not working.
She edited and did that entire video. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's pretty lit. But yeah. So we've been gone for a while. It feels like we've been gone for an eternity, to be honest. Being away from this mic, being away from you guys has really taken a toll on me. And
in a good way or a bad way?
In a good way, but I'm glad I'm back.
I've had some mic withdrawal, you know.
Tolls are always good.
So we took a day off last week because of we observed Memorial Day. WXLV was closed as well for the holiday, so we did not film a show or anything, but we're back now. It's been, I think, actually like 3 weeks since we talked.
What?
We had a show?
No.
Well, because this week just passed, all of last week passed, and then the week before that passed since we recorded show.
Have you seen a calendar before?
So it's essentially 3 weeks.
I don't think that's true. Not how that works.
I was there when you recorded the previous thing. I was outside.
Right. 3 weeks ago.
No, that was
2 weeks ago.
4 weeks.
2 weeks.
So 4 weeks ago was the last time we talked, and a lot has happened in the meantime. We had Deadpool 2 come out.
Didn't see
we
it.
Had
Didn't see that.
Didn't see
Han
it.
Solo,
Didn't
Star Wars
see that.
story.
Saw that.
I guess this is going to be a two-way conversation.
I was going to go last night to see Solo, but I figured I'd get the same experience just sitting here. So I figured I'd just save myself the price of a movie ticket.
Well, because I remember distinctly I said, you guys should see the movie so we can talk about it on Monday.
And I was like, yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah. And then tomorrow came around. I'm like, am I going to spend $10 to see a movie I don't want to see?
I remember it was 7 p.m. and I'm like, I should probably see Solo. What are the times for that? And it was like 10. I'm like, that's only in 3 hours. I can't make that.
Yeah. That's like, I got to be in bed by 9. Yeah. I can't swing that.
I got a lot of work done instead.
So we Lizzie and I also went to Virginia Beach, which was cool, which is actually where I saw Solo. We watched it down there, and Deadpool 2.
I would have watched it if you watched it down here, but you didn't, so.
Yeah.
You saw it on the beach.
It's really your fault.
Yeah, I watched it on the beach. They projected it onto the ocean.
Yeah.
And we watched it on the waves. And yeah, it was pretty lit. The weather was beautiful, and I hate being back here now. It's depressing, and I go back. So that was cool. It was a good trip. A vlog of that'll be coming out soon. Like how
shortly was too much. Because that's what you started to say. Like, I'm going to stick with soon.
A little too quick. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. And we also went to a Coheed and Cambria concert, which was pretty lit in a pretty small club.
How was that?
Zach is pretty jealous.
Small club.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
We weren't even that far up, I mean, it's a smaller room, but it was still pretty intimate, and Yeah, it was really crazy. And a Star Wars metal cover band.
Yeah, which I don't think anybody knew
opened up.
about.
I didn't know about. They didn't mention that. We got there and they were dressed up and all that. And I was like, what's going on?
Were they good?
They were good. Yeah, it was good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the only thing is like the gimmick is like that's like a 3, 4, 5 song top gimmick, but it was like 10 songs of that. So it was like, oh, I get it. Everyone was like, we get it.
I
So,
couldn't even see 5 songs. That's like one video. And then,
Was it Imperial March 10 times?
no, they actually played a lot of different stuff, which was cool. But for anyone who does not recognize, who does not recognize the compositional elements of all the different scores from the Star Wars films, probably did not appreciate that entire set very much. Because it's like the Cantina Band song and Imperial March. Anything more than that, everyone's like, I have no idea what that's from. So me, on the other hand, growing up listening to the soundtracks on purpose, I did catch a lot of it.
supposed to by accident.
Yeah, it's supposed to be accident.
I just walked into the room and Star Wars was playing. It was crazy.
Like, no! But yeah, so that was pretty cool. And I can't wait to see them in July.
I
They
know.
played some new music.
Yeah, which I still haven't listened to.
I actually listened to the studio version on the way over here, and I didn't like it as much.
Really?
So to hype you up,
Perfect. Yeah.
I was not very excited about the single. Were you?
In the car?
Yeah.
It kind of like took me back a little bit.
Took her way back.
We should keep talking to people who the mics can't pick up. That's a good idea.
Speaking of taking us back.
Repeat everything I say into the mic.
No.
She said just repeat everything. I'm just kidding.
That's not
All
what
right,
she said.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I could talk for years about all the different stuff that happened over the last couple weeks, but I feel
I can
like
contrast that.
it's just what
I did one thing.
Chandler, you got a message. Just
for
so
what?
you know, we're live on Instagram right now, and _Puerto Rican _17 said hi, Chandler.
I think I know who that is.
Yeah,
Who is it?
he's saying hello. And
Shout it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's I don't know if that's actually. But anyway, what's up? Is that? Well, I don't want to say because I'm having I'm having trouble remembering right now. But I believe I know who that is. Shout out to him. I think if I remember correctly, he has a apparel company
Sounds good.
of his own. Or I'm completely wrong. It's a completely different person with a similar handle. But anyway, shout out to him.
I went to a weird dance recital.
Yeah.
That was cool.
How did you do?
Why was it
Oh.
weird?
Well, it was my girlfriend's dance recital, and she did great. And her song, like the song she danced for, were pretty good. But then it was like a solid 4 hours, or not 4 hours.
Whoa.
It was 3 hours long. It was a solid 2.5 hours of small children dancing.
Okay.
And
I was there.
that's not true.
I didn't know you were there.
Where
I was
was it?
actually there. It was at the Miller Symphony Hall.
Not true.
Okay.
There was this
False.
one weird one where it was like, I guess the class that song was for consisted of like 7 girls and 1 boy, and they were like small, and they danced this song where it told a story of this girl who was in love with a motorcyclist, and the song ends with
Okay,
him
same thing.
dying. Like the song ends with him going too fast and crashing into a tree and then dying.
That seems
was-
very appropriate for.
Yeah, it was weird.
And that's also the beginning of Lawrence of Arabia. So there you go.
Nice. Nice tie-in, dude. I thought you were the music dude.
No. You'd
Whoa.
be surprised how little I know about anything.
You're hired.
Nice job.
Get right in.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I actually have a really good skill. It's called not knowing most things.
Yeah.
And I excel at it.
You have another message.
From what's going on?
I'm sorry. Well, this is normally how it goes, is that you take the messages that you get from the people. So I just wanted to let you know about your message.
You're going to have to move my 4 o'clock so I can take all these messages.
It's past 4 o'clock.
Isn't this your 4
You can't
o'clock?
move it. This is
Isn't
your
the
4 o'clock.
podcast?
I
your
know,
4
I got to
o'clock?
move it.
You have a message from Samlet, and she said, ask Chandler if they played Yub Nub at the Star Wars thing.
They didn't. Not that I know of. Not that I heard. Although I think that would have been pretty lit. I just don't know compositionally how that would have sounded with a metal.
Would have been fine.
Out of 10
Yeah.
tracks, and they didn't play that one.
No.
How many Star
many
Wars
songs
songs
are
even are there?
There's a lot of songs. Like 5. So
No, what's your favorite Star Wars song? Just not one of those 5.
I personally like the second variant of the Cantina Band song.
what's the second variant?
Because after the first part, you know, they have a version.
What was that? Can you do that again?
Oh, I know what
two
you're
notes.
talking
You can't say
Yeah,
that's
it's like the
copyrighted.
one where Han Solo and Chewbacca are talking to him, and they have it in the background, and it's just different. It's slower. You don't want to. I know more about that than I should. Like
that
for
second
somebody,
part of the Cantina
for
song.
somebody who doesn't know anything, I
Right.
know way too much about that specific scene in Star Wars.
Who shot first?
We'll get to
George
that later.
Lucas.
This isn't even hard.
He was behind the camera.
George Lucas really did
that's a
shoot
good
first
joke.
in the end. So getting right into the solo talk. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that.
You can do it if you want.
It's
I don't
way
care.
too bad. It's too much, and I'm going to go on for a really long time about it. Did anyone else do anything exciting over the past 5 weeks?
Pat,
since
how
we've
was,
been gone?
how was Dark Souls?
I
Did
beat
you,
Dark
did you
Souls.
beat it today?
That's
Is that
fine.
what
He did.
happened?
He
I
beat
did.
it literally 2 hours ago.
I watched him do that.
I did beat the last boss my 3rd try.
Yeah. Well, you were a little over leveled
Okay.
because you were.
This is exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, I beat the game, and I'm like, wow, I did it. That was kind of easy though. And Showing Chat's like, did you parry? What level were you?
just always trying to figure out how to take you down. You know?
I think he's also secretly mad that he described this one boss to me, and I immediately found his location.
No, I deliberately gave you pretty good, easy hints because it was the last boss, and I was like, it's not a
fair
hard
enough.
boss, so I'm just gonna. But he did a really good job, because I never like to. Dark Souls on your first playthrough is all about the mystery and not knowing where to go, and that's what makes it good. So I never like to, for first timers, just tell them what to do. So I would very subtly hint to Pat with in a riddle-like fashion in the chat to confuse him. Usually
terrible.
more finding what was the one you got hung up on really bad. No, that was how to get to the DLC.
area.
Yeah, you struggled for actually an hour and a half on
I
that.
did. How
Yeah.
fast did you find that in your playthrough?
Dude, I don't remember. That was
Yeah, it's
16
probably
years
exactly
ago.
the same thing.
It was about as long as it took me to open up Google and type it in and look up a guide. No, I'm just kidding.
Weren't you racing him, Chandler?
Yeah,
I
he
was,
lost.
and then I realized how busy I was, and I was like, this is not going to work at all. And every time he would stream, I would just end up watching him instead of also playing. So I was like, this is not going to work. But yeah, I'm halfway through the game, a little more.
You ever played Dark Souls, Noah?
I've played Bloodborne. I
That's like the
watched
same
a lot
thing.
of Dark Souls. The first one, though, not as much.
First one's my favorite. So first one's the best. And now Pat wants to run away from it like a coward instead of doing NG plus when it gets harder.
You're right. I should
On
play
your second
on a
playthrough.
stream. I should play the same game back to back just so people get the full experience.
Yes. Because what if they missed it the first time, Pat? You have to can all your reactions from the first playthrough and redo them and beefier
I
in
have
the
to
second.
rewatch my first playthrough and write the script so I can just redo it exactly.
Enter Patrick. Yeah. So Noah, what have you been up to?
Well, over the past weekend, I went outside, which was a horrible experience.
Yeah.
I don't recommend
Imagine.
it. I have a mosquito bite that has rendered my thumb almost immobile. It's the worst.
You know,
Malaria.
It's probably not
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, malaria.
Hospital.
It's fun. One day I will.
Let's consult WebMD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want me to?
WebMD, what do you say about that?
Let's find out.
bite?
Let's see.
What else did you do when you were outside?
I was outside because for whatever reason, my family likes to get together every year.
That
Sounds bad.
I don't like it.
That's dumb.
I went to that.
Ooh, I
And-
typed in mosquito bite and West Nile virus came up. I'm sorry.
No,
Oh.
dude.
Great. I'm looking forward to it.
What exactly will that do to him?
Oh, it's
Let's
bad.
find out.
I don't know.
To be fair, I don't think it's anything that bad because it's going down. It was much bigger,
Well,
That's how it
there's
gets
a
you.
big red mark
It's
on your
actually
thumb, dude.
I know.
the adaptation
but
of
it was much worse. So that's how we know it was.
It's kind of like a Trojan horse kind of thing. It makes you think your guard gets let down. You think it's going away, then it gets you.
Yeah.
Then you get a large wooden horse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your thumb turns into.
I hate when a
wood.
large wooden horse bites my thumb.
It's the worst. That's just cringed, physically
I
cringed.
did. I mean,
away
it's
from
my
the mic.
fault because it's.
You set it up.
You
I
brought
did
it up.
set it up. But
Plus, that was another Greek mythology reference.
That's the 16th
Oh my-
today.
it is.
Is that Greek myth?
I,
is.
The Trojans?
Yes.
Yeah.
Myth.
All right.
I think it was myth.
It's a myth, but it's not. Is it
What
a
do you
myth?
mean?
Can you fact check
Wait.
if that
'cause-
actually happened?
'cause,
The war at Troy was how the Odyssey began.
Yeah.
It's
no,
also-
that's
it's-
all real.
Right,
But was the
right,
Trojan
right,
horse thing real?
Yeah.
Is my
Yeah,
question.
the Odyssey with the Cyclops and the,
Yeah, that's all real. We know that.
Yeah.
Like, that's history.
yeah.
You think they actually made a huge wooden horse and then like wheeled it in? They're like, nothing bad could come from this.
So, like, I know just for all want this. I absolutely want to bring this into the castle.
I guess because they had nothing to base that on. If that happened today,
It's
we'd just be like,
unprecedented.
oh, well, I'm not going to bring this in.
Look,
Remember what
I've seen
happened
this
last
trick.
time.
Like they walked out like, man, never seen that before. It's the large wooden horse. And they're like, let's bring it inside.
You should do everything once when you encounter it if you don't know what it is. You should just let it in or give it a chance, no matter how dangerous it looks. Which I think that horse probably didn't look as dangerous, which is why they're like, it's just made of wood. I can light it on fire if it does something bad. But there were actually a bunch of men with swords in it.
So-
That's what they didn't expect.
Yeah.
And they killed everyone when they were asleep.
I don't know
It's
what
the
they thought
ultimate
they were
get.
going to get out of that.
And there goes Josh.
No horse has ever had guys with swords inside it before.
That's the last thing you would think it would have. You're like,
Yeah.
maybe it has like a disease on it or something at most.
Yeah.
Or like it's really flammable or something.
Could give you splinters.
Yeah, like ouch,
Quick-
my splinter bones.
quick
But I
recap
actually go
of
on.
why the Trojan War is Greek myth. I mean, it's all, yeah, it is in the Iliad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, but no, the war from the Wikipedia article, Trojan
Good.
War. Very accurate. The war originated from a quarrel between Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite after Eris, the god of strife and discord, gave them a golden apple or whatever.
I mean, that's practically from the horse's mouth. No.
Oh, dude.
No.
That was good. I like it.
Didn't think about it.
Basically, Aphrodite made Helen of Troy fall in love with Paris.
Oh, from
then-
the Crucible.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then then they burned all the witches, yeah.
Yeah.
You said they met on Discord?
Yes.
Is that what I heard you
And that's
Yeah.
on Discord.
Oh.
It's a good VoIP, I'll tell you what.
I'm going to
I've been in the
break.
game for a while.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna go.
We're gonna real quick break.
A wooden horse has arrived at the station, so we're gonna go check that out. We'll be right back.
Sounds good.
So turns out there's men in the Trojan horse, and they deleted the ad break, so we can't do that the rest of the show.
Took a little longer than we expected to fight them off. We weren't expecting that though.
I
that was a
let my
good
hair
get.
down though. I was going like Brad Pitt from Troy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was good.
That's a good reference.
That's a bad movie.
Good reference, bad movie. I want to amend the shout out from earlier that I mixed up Confi Maldonado from my old programming class back when I was in tech. Shout out to him. It's the wrong person, but I thought you were because I got your handle mixed up with someone else I know. But yeah, anyway, that's who it was. The mystery's been solved. But yeah, so we have Noah Hessinger here
Do we?
in the building. And
I didn't see him coming.
Yeah, the man with the golden voice. And now you have a show of your own.
I do.
That you do right here in this building. You've been sharing this land with
Yeah.
us all along.
I have. I'm usually on that side.
Yeah,
This is really
Is
this
it
is
weird?
culture shock.
nice. Is that
Yeah.
the name of your show?
No.
In game theory?
No. I would. Oh,
That's a good
wow. What a,
What's the name of your show then, Noah?
my show is called Intro. No, I was reading.
That's fine.
Don't you read this script?
Do you know? Do you, do you
my
know
show
what
is
show-
my show is Getting Off Track with Noah Hessinger. It used to be with Noah Hessinger and Scott Yupa, but he has moved on to bigger and better things.
Has he really?
Yes. So now, yes, I have nowhere to elaborate there. No, he has an internship now.
He stormed you.
He's doing
He's still well, except for we're still on. He still does stuff, so it's fine.
Oh no!
Wow.
It's okay. He never listens.
Yeah.
He
it's
stormed
fine.
you like
He
the
won't know.
Trojan horse stormed.
Stop it. Stop it. The Trojan horse jokes end now.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
What's that show about? Getting
Now,
off
you know
track?
what was a real Trojan horse getting off track?
I failed to see the metaphor, but okay. Getting Off Track, as was asked, is a show about movie soundtracks. Although I wind up getting off track a lot, and hence the name, and talking about the movies themselves more than the soundtracks. So
That's such a great double-edged sort of a name for your show, though. You did such a better job than we did coming up with a name.
well,
It's true.
I
Way less self-deprecating.
actually Scott picked that name out of the names I came up with.
Oh, well, you don't have to tell him that. I mean,
you
he's
came up
nobody
with it,
anymore.
I came up with it, but I kind of threw it out because I thought it would. I don't know how safe this is on air, but I thought it might be misheard as something else if you emphasize the wrong parts of the word.
Okay.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think it's known what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's funny. I agree.
But no, he picked that, so that's. It was more fun when I had banter. And, we had banter. I could say, oh, well, I guess we're getting off track. Here's the next song. And then, he'd threaten to get a jar out and make me put $1 in every time I said that. It was too often.
And now you just talk to yourself the whole time.
Yes.
Do you talk to Scott Tice as if he's still here in the studio with you when you film?
Scott Tice?
Yeah, you said you do the show with Scott.
Not Scott Tice. Scott Yupa.
Wait, there's another
Okay, I didn't know
Scott.
there
Is
was
that
a,
real, right?
I didn't know there was a difference.
Are you doing a bit?
I thought he was doing a bit. You didn't actually think I did a show with Scott Tice, did you? Like I got a professor.
So
No.
do you have a background in radio?
Well, this is my background in radio.
Okay, good.
Does that mean we have a background in radio?
Do we have a background in
job,
radio?
guys.
Yeah.
We do now.
Who's in the background of radio right now?
Yeah.
Lizzie's in the background of radio.
If you go to my Facebook page, in the background there is a picture of the radio station. So
That's pretty cute.
I have a background in radio.
Does that
The
count?
background of mine's the Trojan horse.
Was being in radio something you dreamed of when you were a child?
No.
No, for this reason.
Well, I wanted to be in college radio. I don't know if I want to be in radio just for the rest of time. I know my father was in college radio, so I had an edge up with the tech side of it.
That's interesting.
So you had the voice genetics were there.
Yes,
Because you can even do like the gimmicky sort of voices.
I can.
Yeah, do something like that.
Can you do Gandalf?
Good.
I heard you can do Gandalf.
Oh, Baggins! Do not take me for some conjurer of cheap tricks.
Okay, so that's not even what I meant, and I'm so happy you did that. So
No,
I love
wow.
Christopher Lee.
Yeah, we're actually working on a fan-made forum RPG of RPing in the Lord of the Rings universe. So we might want you to voice act down the road.
I'll be there.
Now, speaking of dads in radio, actually, my father,
Where's Scott?
my father was in several bands when he was in his youth, and actually at one point he did a show here at WXLV.
really,
Back when the station, I think, might have been called something else. Chris Andrews wasn't even working here yet.
And you've been in zero bands, right?
And I've been in zero bands, like father, like son.
Right.
So he's very disappointed in the paths I've chosen. I haven't taken up the mantle of music, and I've just. Yeah, but anyway, so
Is that
my
why you
dad did a
tried?
show here. What?
is that why you try to get in? Like, you've made an effort to create music. Is that because of your father?
Well, yeah, it's always been so deeply rooted in me.
Okay.
That's the only reason people try to make music.
That is because
So
their
their
dads.
father does it.
Yeah, maybe.
Wait,
Yeah.
but music had to start somewhere.
No.
Someone's dad
No,
didn't do music.
It's a
Whose
time
music's
loop.
dad?
Yeah.
Who made music want to make music?
Music is one of those names that like a rapper gives their child because it's
Lorenzo music?
yeah.
Lorenzo music.
Lorenzo, no, that's
No, not Lorenzo music.
I feel like we've gotten off track.
Yeah,
here.
does anyone else feel like that?
oh yeah, we're definitely yeah.
Getting off track with the poorly edited podcast. So what are some memorable soundtracks for movies and games that you've done and covered, or maybe haven't yet and you want to?
Well,
Lord of the Rings, obviously.
I have
Yeah.
used one Lord of the Rings track. I still need to use
Which
way
one?
more.
Does Lord of the Rings have music?
Which
I used the book has music. The music was all made for the book. Then
it's like those cards you buy for people's birthdays. You like open the one page and a song
Yeah.
starts playing as you're reading it.
It never stops.
Like,
It's
wow,
the same
I'm really
30
in Helm's
seconds.
Deep right now.
Yeah.
They could do that.
Peter Jackson, the hack, just kind of shoved that
Yeah.
into his own.
music. What an idiot.
I know. I only use the Hobbit theme. The only movie.
Wait, like concerning hobbits?
Yeah, concerning hobbits.
That's a good
Nice
one.
job.
You know, it's a really bad movie.
If you the Hobbit.
The most recent Hobbit, at least.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
The
if you
Hobbit,
like the
concerning
first Hobbit, you
hobbits.
can maybe enjoy the first Hobbit.
No.
I can even maybe a little bit
Kind of.
get some enjoyment out of it. But wow, does it get awful?
It's like butter
That's what
spread
happened.
over too much bread.
That's what happens when you take one book that's not even super long and
Oh,
put
yeah.
it into 3 movies.
It's a children's story.
Yeah.
But we have to have the Super Mario Legolas scene where he's like jumping from
That
brick
was pretty
to brick.
awesome. I mean, not
I
good
guess.
at all, but it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome when that's the highlight of your movie.
Yeah, it's awesome when
Yeah.
Peter Jackson sat down and like, and this is gonna be the scene, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Somehow they like roped Saruman? No, Sauron into it.
Which one?
Salamander Man.
Yeah, Salamander Man. They
Wait, you mean Sauron played by Ian McKellen?
that's of course what I meant. Yeah.
So for all the audio listeners, Zach just rang the bell by turning it upside down and not even hitting the bell apparatus at the top. And that
Like
That's how-
like some kind of wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry.
That was pretty good.
turning the bell upside down and ringing it that way is kind of like the Trojan horse of ringing bells. So unexpected. So do you have any
Yeah.
background in
Radio?
How much do you like audio engineering? Is that like where your focus is? Because I mean, you run the show. I assume you run the board and all those things. Like, is
do.
that what you like to do?
I enjoy the audio engineering, but you know, it's sort of it's a thing I want to use for film as opposed to just using it for its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I get off track. That's why the show is aptly named.
So you wanna,
Aptly named. I can't speak.
You heard it here first, folks. If you're a film major and you want to get into film, do radio.
Yeah,
That's how you break out in the industry.
yeah.
so you would like to move on to like a job creating soundtracks for movies, ideally?
Perhaps, or just making the movies. I want to make the movies.
Okay.
I want to
Fair
make the
enough.
big picture.
What kind of big picture do you
The
want?
big picture with Kevin Bacon. I still haven't seen that movie.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a movie called The
That
Big
hasn't
Picture
aired.
with Kevin Bacon.
Let's look it up.
How is it?
I have no clue. But the minute I see it, the soundtrack will be in the show.
I want to watch it just to use the soundtrack. What if the soundtrack's underwhelming? How good can a Kevin name? Well, there's maybe okay. That's
Wow!
all right.
Name a
Let's chill out.
musical based
Tremors.
film. Tremors.
7 degrees of soundtracks from Kevin Bacon films.
Yeah.
That would be an excellent show, just in itself.
Way
Can
too
we,
hard.
Can we do that?
Just a show about Kevin Bacon films.
Canceled.
Oh.
Yeah, I just got the call.
Oh.
guys.
Darn it.
See you later. Thanks for coming.
Kevin Bacon called his lawyers.
Did you know John Cleese played bartender in The Big Picture?
Bartender. What
The
a
hit new role.
yeah.
So
That
Noah,
character has a lot of depth.
Noah.
on my
So
script,
Noah.
I have on my script, I have a bullet point to talk about your script.
My
so would you like to
script?
talk about that?
If I knew what you were talking
I was
about.
creeping on your Instagram, and I saw that you had you took a picture of a script you were writing.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was just for
Good.
That was for script writing class.
I had that class with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that was my script. It was terrible.
Yeah,
bad.
mine was bad too.
It wasn't that bad. No, dude.
You didn't read it though.
Well,
If you had
how
read
was
it,
your pitch?
the pitch was good,
Yeah.
ish. Yeah, I was stuttering throughout it.
It's fine.
But the script itself, you know, you suffer from the first time you write a script, you suffer from a plot-driven plot instead of a character-driven plot.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Wow.
you just have things happening for no reason, which is embarrassing for me because that's the thing I have always been complaining about.
Right.
You know, it's harder than it seems.
It is.
Won't
That's why
stop
you
me
got to do it.
Won't stop me from complaining about the movies that do it, though.
No.
But you know,
You can be
Nor
a
should
critic
it.
without doing it.
yeah,
I think think that writing a script is going to be easy, or like
yeah.
even if you have a good idea,
I think anything's
like,
going to be easy.
It can
until you
never
do it.
fail. And then you start writing, you're like, oh, it's way harder.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. And probably the first few times you're going to do it, it's going to be bad, but
Yeah.
you'll learn so much
Just an
over your
interject quick. I
mistakes.
got from Kevin Bacon to Lord of the Rings in 5 clicks. So you know.
Well,
For all the audio listeners, we got to see that adventure.
We didn't even get to see
I
that.
don't think
I
Josh
didn't
is
even
good
get to
filming.
see
for Kevin
That's
Bacon.
like,
I just wanted to do it.
I just opened up a bank account. I don't know.
Do you want to?
I
Here,
just,
so
I
I
just
went
saved a
from
bunch of money on my car insurance.
so Kevin Bacon to The Big Picture to Jennifer Jason Leigh to The Hateful Eight to Viggo Mortensen. Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
I haven't seen The Hateful Eight.
Is Viggo
Pretty good.
Mortensen in the
I have
Hateful Eight?
seen The
No,
Hateful
I don't
Eight.
know why his name was in that article, but
Okay.
it was a gimme.
The Hateful Eight is okay. It's
Oh,
probably,
he was-
It's probably Tarantino's worst film, though.
Okay.
But I mean, that's still out of like a series
Yeah.
of good films, so you know.
I think I liked it better than Jackie Brown.
See, Jackie Brown is the one I like.
I like
that's my
Jackie
favorite.
Brown.
I grew up
There's
watching
something-
Charlie Brown, so like it holds a, and the soundtrack of that is very good.
Just cut to
So-
Samuel L. Jackson. I feel like I'm losing control of the whole world.
So
There's something really tasteful about Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
The acting specifically.
Jackie Brown is like the Tarantino movie that just feels like a movie and not like a Tarantino brand
Yeah.
film.
Not a bloody massacre.
Yeah, I felt
Well-
that's. I don't really like. I mean, I don't hate his later films, but I feel like at some point he started getting hired because he was the guy who did Violence. You know, after Kill Bill, and you know, every single movie after that is like, oh, well, you know, has to be killing here, killing there. If you watch Pulp Fiction, it's violent, but there are large like periods of time where nobody is killing anybody.
yeah.
I mean, I think more than violence, the best part of Tarantino films are the characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like way more than the violence. I don't know. For some reason, I like it because it's so over the top.
Well, that's
And,
the
like,
problem with his films. They get more and more superficial. I mean, the big one I complain about is Inglourious Bastards, because that one, I just feel like it has a lot of good.
Zach's mad.
Oh,
Wait, what did he say?
oh,
Wait, what?
he's angry.
What did he say that made Zach mad?
No, wait, Zach had to reset the camera.
Oh,
I really liked
Robo Brennan's malfunctioning.
What didn't you like about it?
You didn't like that
I
movie?
felt like there were a lot of good scenes. It's still a good movie. I felt like there were a lot of good scenes, but they don't really gel that well. And there were just things that, I mean, it works, I guess. I just felt like it's kind of all over the place a little bit.
You know what I feel like happened over time with Tarantino? Because I disagree. I don't think it's the characters themselves that are good in the Tarantino films. It's the writing and the dialogue.
Like,
Yeah.
even
Around
Kill
those
Bill, which is
characters.
so overly over the top violent, it's a really
Right.
good script.
Yeah.
Well, what's good? It made sense in Kill Bill to be that violent because that's what he was. He was doing a riff on that kind of
Right.
And like
movie.
she wanted revenge. So that was like the entire movie is her getting
Right.
revenge.
No, that movie, it made perfect sense. The problem is he's like a lot of actors do. He started getting typecast. So the producers, you know, they'd pay for his movie, and then they'd be like, "Hey, where's this? Where's that?" Audiences want to know where this is. If he came out with a movie that was like about children, like, you know, if he made one of the interviews, he talked about Babe, how he liked that movie, but like, you know, that wasn't his thing. But if he came out with a movie like that, people would be screaming in the streets. It would be terrible.
Yeah. They'd be like, this isn't a Tarantino film because that means a thing for some reason.
Yeah.
What about his upcoming film? When he's doing Charles Manson biopic.
I didn't see that.
Yo, why isn't he not doing movies anymore like he said he was going to do?
Like, he said he
'Cause
was gonna get out of it.
Yeah, because like his scripts got leaked a few years ago and he's like, I'm mad now. I'm done. And he's like, I only have a few movies I want to make. And it's like, then I'm done. I don't want to
I really hope he gets over that because I feel
He's
like
making.
It seems
no,
like
it's-
he is because
is
he
him-
should have been done by
Yeah.
now.
He's making. No, he's making a movie about.
I know.
that's good.
Yeah. What are you guys
Because
talking
That's what
about?
I'm saying. It seems like he is over it because
Well, I thought he said a while ago that he was only going to do 10.
yeah,
And he's
but
done 8.
that doesn't mean anything.
Oh.
He can change his mind.
Sure.
And I think it's important that he does because I feel like the thing that's been hampering his latest movies is he feels like every movie has to be perfect. And so, you know, he has to have all of those classic Tarantino scenes in every movie. He has to have all of the classic beats, and it really gives him less room to breathe. I think I think a lot of these directors, because he's worried he's going to get stale, but I think all directors need to just keep pumping them out and then, worry about that later. Because you're going to get bad movies in the end anyway.
I mean, I feel like that's just kind of how he has to do it. Because Tarantino. I mean, it's like
it depends.
It's weird because he's like Tarantino, and Tarantino movies are like almost their own genre. They're like so unique, or like they're unique but unified, like together. But I feel like it has to. Like, I'm not saying he has to release those kind of movies, but I feel like he thinks he has to, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's exactly.
Or that's
the
just how he thinks movies should be made. So he's just going to do it that way. It's not necessarily that he doesn't think other movies are good. I think he's just like, this is how I do it.
I just think he's scared to direct something that doesn't have all of the beats. I think he's scared to have a script that is different because he knows he's only going to have like so many more movies. So like 2 more movies if you count them. So I hope he makes more because, you have directors like Woody Allen. He's directed thousands of flops, but, he has those like classic ones because he made so many. He has such a prolific filmography. But
that just sounds like quantity over quality at that point. I mean, I'm not saying that someone like Woody Allen is bad, but that, the idea that Tarantino should just keep making films for the sake of making them.
I guess he doesn't have to do anything.
Right. That's my point. Is like none of those artists have to do anything. No, it's their approach.
Nobody has to do anything. Yeah. We don't have to be here. We don't have to breathe. We don't have to be alive.
He's right.
No, we have to breathe. Oh. Our bodies will make us breathe if we choose not to. It's not really up to us.
Darn it.
Yeah. Sorry to bring everybody down. So Solo, I'm just going to let you guys go crazy with that one.
Solo is the best Tarantino film.
Solo is my favorite Tarantino film of the year.
Yeah.
I'm hot off Last Jedi, which I don't like. I've decided over time I just don't like that film or anything it did for the universe or anything that I hold very dear. Mm-hmm. And I saw Infinity War, Disney knocking that out of the park, Marvel knocking that out of the park, and I go, man, why is the Star Wars franchise not being treated with the same civility that Marvel is? What is going on where Marvel's like, yes, we're gonna give the fans everything they want and do everything super great and have a great film that doesn't feel like too much of fan service to the point where it's cheesy. It doesn't subvert so many expectations to the point of annoyance. It just did everything right. Great writing and plot and characters and everything like that for a film like that. Yeah, and I've hated most of the Marvel films.
Yeah,
but like this one in particular really struck me. And
I mean, it wasn't perfect.
It wasn't perfect.
But
no,
the writing is about on par with how it's been, but there was more variety because they had all of them. Yeah. So it was kind of like if anybody's ever watched the animated 1986 Transformers movie, where they're just cutting to various locations, and you have the robots and they're different colors and they look different. They have no substance outside of that, but it's cool because you're cutting from place to place. So it holds. It's not like the Winter Soldier where you're stuck on Captain America. And you're just watching him get into an elevator, and it's like he's going to get attacked by a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and lo and behold.
I think that for a film and a universe to come together in like over the span of I don't know how long it's been, 10 years or something like that, setting all of this up, for it to have not felt really ridiculous and all over the place is a major achievement.
Right.
To have all these moving parts and not have it feel like fluff or anything like it was interesting.
Yeah.
And you look at Justice League and what they did with that, and that was horrible, and that was an example of that failing. So it's Marvel's doing everything right, and Disney's Marvel's doing everything right in that sense. So then I look at Star Wars and I go, why was Last Jedi horrible? How did this happen?
Isn't there more money to be made making sure Star Wars is as successful?
I can tell you what the problem is. The problem is that Marvel, you have an entire, series of comic books. You have like tons of material that they can just, pilfer from those books. Star Wars, you have 3 movies. I mean, you have all of the extra content that's been created around that, but they barely use any of that. You have 3 good movies, and that is what you have. Yeah. And so it's a really small universe to develop. So what else are you going to do but reference thing? Because that's all what Marvel does constantly. If you watch it, they reference other comic books, but the difference is, it has a ton of stuff to pull from. Star Wars has 3 movies to pull from when it does a reference, and so it's like the same 3 references in every film.
I mean, it's also what Marvel's been doing is like 10 years straight, and they just kept at it. Like every year they're releasing stuff. Star Wars is like, we're going to release 3 movies.
Yeah.
And then we're going to release 3 movies.
Star Wars.
And then we're going to release another 3.
Star Wars had a pretty wide depth to its expanded universe and like the comics and the books and the games that developed that universe further. But when Disney took over and the people that took over in the name of Disney for the franchise, they were like, all that's gone. We're not using any of that. And so then you're just like, okay, well, this universe that you're absolutely right is so limited.
Yeah.
They just constrained so much, and then they're like, oh, and now we're going to do our own thing. It's like, that's a horrible idea.
Well, and if they weren't treating it like the Marvel universe, I don't think it would be a problem. If they hired directors and said, hey, make a film, we're not going to force it to be pigeonholed in this sort of width of where a Disney movie can be. If they just put out more films, some of them would be bad, some of them would be good. You'd have sort of a range. I feel like these are so consistent as to just be nothing. They're mediocre most of the time.
There's been so many problems with the production process and directors getting fired off of the job and things like creative differences, as they say, which usually I think translates to they won't do what Disney tells them to. And it's very bad. It's really not. It hasn't been conducive to producing good films. Yeah. And you have someone like Rian Johnson, whatever, who did Last Jedi, and all he was about was just tricking the viewer. Like he was just about subverting their expectation on the basis of just subverting expectations, not for any actual value, and it led to what a tumultuous movie that was. So then we get to Solo, and I'm going into this film with, even as a diehard fan, the absolute lowest expectations possible, like the bare minimum. And I can say that I was pleasantly surprised with how not horrible and how not a train wreck this film was.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going in the same direction I was going to go with that, because I was pleasantly surprised by Solo. I mean, it wasn't, it could have been much better, but it was a plot. I could follow the plot.
I'm going to go see it tonight.
All of the characters had something to do that made sense.
Just like the basics.
Half the cast was not randomly thrust into another storyline that ended nowhere.
So maybe this was the plan. Like they're like, okay, we're gonna make a Solo movie, and everyone's like, no, we don't actually want that. So like, oh, we got to make Last Jedi really bad, so they'll actually like Solo. Because it sounds like you only liked it because you were so disappointed in the last Star Wars movie you watched.
Kind of. I mean, there's to a certain extent, it's like it's cool to see the origins of some of these things. There's other things where I'm like, I didn't need to see that and why that came to be. Like I don't know, man. I really want to say specific things that bothered me.
Oh, yeah.
Like
that thing at the end that I don't think anybody was having.
I wasn't upset, but I was just like, why? Because that's something that everyone already knew who's involved with the franchise. Yeah. Because that particular character, we already knew they were operating because of the shows that are going on. Yeah. So it was just like, that's not exciting. No. And the reason for that cameo at the end is because I guess Lawrence Kasdan didn't know that character was already active already, so he thought he was being edgy, bringing them back.
See, I haven't been watching any of the shows, so I was
most people aren't.
I was surprised, however, not positively, because I kind of get it. It's not a character that really has any depth whatsoever, so you can just write over him,
right? And that's exactly what they're going to do.
So the question is, are they going to do something good with him, or
probably not?
Is he going to be a lazy piece of trash that dies anticlimactically at the end. Oh
Right.
wait, no, sorry, I'm thinking of Last Jedi. Never mind.
Yeah, there is some setup in this film that I have.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea how they're gonna pay off because it's weird because the timeline's all chopped up. But this film explains some things about Han Solo that are cool. It shows the evolution of his character that wasn't exactly what I was expecting. Because I had like certain things like, oh, I already know what's gonna happen. They're gonna do this, and that's what's gonna happen. But they didn't.
Yeah.
He's not just a scoundrel from the beginning.
No.
He's not.
He's a wide-eyed innocent.
Right, and you see the transition between him going from that. He was rough and tough from the beginning still, but he wasn't like, I'm gonna shoot first. He's not that guy.
Although he did.
But you see that evolution. I think that was important. That was like the most important thing to get right is that arc, and they did, and that was really cool. So you understand why he is the way he is by the time of A New Hope, and I think that's cool. There's other things where I'm just like, didn't need to know like how he got his belt or like his shoelaces
Or how he got
like
his name.
yeah, just all these different things.
shoelaces?
No, I'm just.
I want to
That
watch it
scene
now.
in particular where he gets his name, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's like watching... Because halfway into it's actually a sort of drawn out scene, and halfway into it, you know where it's going, and it's like, no, they can't do that.
Wait, so it's like a joke, but you already know the punchline.
Yeah. Except
And
you're
it's not
sitting
even
there
funny.
in horror.
It's so stupid. I was with Scott, and he had to, get my head from outside of my palm after that moment.
to unglue it.
It-
Yeah, I had a similar moment. I was we saw it with my friend who's in the military, and I've seen all the other Star Wars films that have come out recently with him.
Yeah.
So I knew we're very much on the same page with the Star Wars lore and everything. And we just looked at each other and we were just like, no, I'm sorry, but no.
But then the rest of the movie, it was an original adventure.
It was.
It was just something. It wasn't like, oh, this is the prequels. We need to. Every single moment has to be some dumb explanation of something. This was just an adventure. It was a sort of well-written adventure. It was a coherent adventure. There were things that, in fact, I wound up liking it more than some people did, because a lot of people complained about things. I just didn't get it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, guys, let's chill out. Like I understand the frustration, but like
Everybody hated the robot. I didn't hate.
I hated the robot.
See, I didn't hate the robot.
I hated the robot.
Yeah?
That robot was horrible.
Because
Here.
people.
And you know what else? And I'm going to say it. And you know what else?
What?
Donald Glover as Lando was here. Okay, let me just preface this.
You ready to fight?
Here's what's insane about this film is because what's his name who
Woody
plays
Harrelson.
Han Solo? Woody Harrelson, who plays Han Solo in this film. I remember hearing during production they needed to fly an acting coach in for him on set because he was so bad. He gives an actually good performance of this film, in my opinion. And on the other hand, Lando Calrissian, Donald Glover, my boy, who I was championing going into this film, did not. It just seemed like he was doing a Lando impression.
See, a lot of people say that. I didn't. Weirdly enough, I didn't get that. I watched it. I wasn't really thinking about him in comparison to Lando Calrissian, like in the movie. I was just thinking, oh, this is a character, and I don't know. He worked kind of. He was entertaining. If anything, I thought he could have had more screen time, and then he could have gone beyond the impression of Lando into actually Lando. But I was okay with him. I was okay with. People hated the robot. Because
It all comes back to the robot, really.
Yeah.
I feel like people hated the robot because they thought it was like a social justice thing. I didn't see the connection.
Oh, I really?
Well, I saw the connection that people were making, but I kind of felt like there's a difference between getting dramatic and emotional on the internet and freeing robots that have no free will of their own.
They had to fly in an acting coach for that guy?
So,
Are you kidding me?
I feel like among other
How much did he get paid?
Among other things, I feel like a lot of the stories about this movie were sort of blown out of proportion.
Okay.
If you
Perhaps.
if you look closely, like there was a whole news bomb about how Lando was pansexual in this movie, and I don't remember any scenes.
There, well, there is the implied who his companion is.
The robot?
Yeah, it's just weird, but there's no. It's
the story was based off of the fact that somebody in an interview with. I read all about that. Yeah, not Lawrence Kasdan, but the kid.
Lawrence Kasdan's son also wrote the film with his dad.
Right.
Lawrence Kasdan's the one who wrote like the originals, like Empire. I don't know if he wrote A New Hope actually, but he wrote Empire and Return of the Jedi. And he helped with Force Awakens and now this film.
Right.
And so his son in an interview, someone asked them about Lando's sexuality and he was like, yeah, maybe. Like that was his response. Like, sure, I don't know. Like, maybe.
And then the same thing happened with the acting coach. I feel like because
I believe that.
Well, what people don't know, what people seem to forget is that actor, I recognized him, the guy who played Solo, and he was in the Coen brothers film Hail Caesar.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, and even though that movie had problems with pacing, he was good in that movie. I feel like the problem was more so with him acting like a young Harrison Ford.
Yeah, which no one was going to do.
Well, no.
Like, no one was going to capture that again. So if you go into that film and be like, if I don't feel like that's Han Solo, like, I'm done. Because it's like, dude,
if the fans had made the movie, they would have brought back Harrison Ford in his wheelchair.
Yeah.
Had him like play. I young,
That was it. Yeah, it was good.
It's the Falcon.
I don't think the Coen brothers would have someone in their movie who needs an acting coach.
Right.
Like, it doesn't seem
They didn't direct this film.
No, I understand.
Well, I think it's, again, Disney wanting...
the guy who played Solo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, again, it's Disney wanting things to be Disney.
Yeah, it's probably it.
Yeah.
He might have just not been acting the way they thought he should act.
Right. Yeah, no, he was fine. I mean, the only issues were some little things. I didn't like the whole let's introduce a character and then let's kill that character off and then let's introduce another character and then kill that character off.
That happened a lot.
That happened a lot in that movie. Like, and
but overall, the whole like the kind of archetypal story that this is of like the heist kind of movie.
Yeah,
I really dig that.
Yeah,
to see that in Star Wars, like on the big screen,
especially
is pretty cool.
Towards the end, I mean, I got a little bit weary of some of the twists, but I
thought that was cool. I thought it was cool. It was so like if
cool
this movie was going to be anything, that should have been how it went. There, like it doesn't end well.
Right. It was cool to a point, but
there's only so much I can say.
But by the middle of that whole sequence, you already know what's going to happen. Or at least I did.
I didn't.
Well,
and I'm usually pretty good at that, but I wasn't even seeing it coming. Everything that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I was like, any movie that can surprise me in that, right? I enjoy. But in terms of how Disney's doing in this, it's like if they continue down this road and refine this approach a little better, get better directors on these projects that understand the universe and stuff.
I actually feel bad for Rian Johnson.
I don't.
Well, this is why. He has directed one other movie of note, which was Looper. Which some people like.
I like Looper. I like
make
Looper.
a Star Wars movie. Let's get the Looper guy.
I actually think Lawrence Kasdan. I actually think Rian Johnson is an okay director. The problem is his scripts are terrible.
Yes.
And really, he hasn't had enough practice.
Oh.
And and the reason I feel bad for him is he's like this really inexperienced director/screenwriter who's being given all of this responsibility at the beginning of his career, and he's just thrust there. I don't know if he's going to get a job for like a long time, and it's kind of sad.
He is. Because I'm pretty sure they're giving him his own trilogy to direct.
No!
I'm pretty sure.
I heard that.
Yeah. So,
get a source on
if
that
only
quick.
he had made a bunch of smaller films of his own first, and then he could get experience. He's just not ready for this. Or if he's ready for this, he should just direct and stop writing the script.
Yeah, he had full creative control for whatever reason in that film.
Yeah.
He was given the keys to a brand spanking new Ferrari, and I think he crashed it.
Yeah.
And now he's faced with tons of backlash, and he doubles down on all of it because no one wants to sit there and be like, yeah, you're right, my movie was bad, and I had absolutely no care for the universe or anything like that. But it just feels like that. And he was so adamant in all the rounds of interviews about how he didn't care about what the fans wanted and stuff, which is a horrible way to conduct yourself, but that's what Disney has based reviving this franchise on, is to deliberately not do what fans want. And I don't understand, because Marvel does the opposite and they're being very successful. So why is the same company, like this is the same company doing both these things, why are they doing it the opposite
have different
way?
People running it. They have Kathleen Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy's in charge over on the Star Wars side, and she is not doing a great job. I think that might be the key is to. It happens all the time. The people who run these things, the spokespeople for these things, there's changing of the guard all the time. So I think it's time that they try something new and they get Kathleen Kennedy out of the way. Because it just doesn't seem like she knows what she's doing. And I think that's the key. And unless that happens, I think I'm always going to be wary of future films that are coming out and the new directions things going.
Although in the end, I'm like the person who's not as outraged by most of these things as a lot of other people, because I just, this is what I thought was going to happen. I don't know if there were people who thought that Star Wars would come back and Disney would be making it, and it would somehow be really, really good.
Right.
I'm gonna need some closing thoughts on Solo, if you can manage that.
No.
Closing thoughts. Go see it.
Just go see it, because
it's worth it.
If you enjoy Star Wars, especially the original trilogy, you'll probably enjoy this movie.
It's probably the best thing that's come out of Star Wars since the original films. Which is not saying much. Which isn't saying much.
That's still Force Awakens was all right.
I mean, it's okay.
You guys know what closing thoughts are?
What are closing thoughts?
You don't open up a new conversation.
We're getting off track, Pat.
I'll bite. Oh, you were getting off track.
All right, I got some trivia, some Star Wars trivia.
Hit us up.
Trivia?
So, I'm going to say a question. First one to answer gets it. You guys ready?
First one to answer gets it.
You guys ready?
Yep.
All right, who is widely regarded as the most popular character in Episode 1? Which Gungan was outcast from his people due to his clumsy behavior?
Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, Zach gets a point.
Bar J.
Which
I already hate
which
this.
green alien shot at Han Solo first in the Mos Eisley?
So,
Damn it.
What is coarse and rough and irritating, gets everywhere?
Sand.
I think that was Chandler.
Too close.
I gotta give it to him.
I don't know.
I could hear it. I got special monitoring.
Stop.
Yeah.
What?
I'm not going to get any points. I answer.
What
so.
microorganism are George Lucas's?
Midichlorians.
These are all prequels based.
Who are Ray's parents?
Who cares?
Nobody.
They were
Zach got
drunkards.
exactly what I wrote down. Who cares?
Who cares? Nice. That was good. That was good.
Who cares?
Which Force-sensitive character has proven they can survive space for at least limited
Leia.
periods of
Oh
time?
my God. I can't stand
That's
that.
awful.
It's so bad.
What is a parsec?
Who
It's
cares?
a measurement of distance, not time.
It is both time and space. A lot of people get that wrong. It is actually a combination
Explain.
of the two. Well, I'm not an expert, but if you look it up,
No, my Google search said it was distance, so I'm going to look that back up and see if you're right.
I think it's distance.
I mean, it's mostly distance.
George Lucas, here's the fun fact about that with the Kessel Run thing, which
Yeah.
comes up in the Solo film that was referenced in A New Hope. George Lucas didn't know at the time that it was a measure of distance,
Right.
not time. So that line now doesn't make sense anymore
Well,
because
it
of what
actually-
Solo did to
They
it.
made sense in the Solo film. Weirdly enough, they made it make sense.
No, but it doesn't make sense because
That still makes sense.
No, because he goes around saying this ship made the Kessel Run in this many parsecs,
Right.
12.
which sounds like it's a time. Like I
Right.
did it so fast.
yeah, that doesn't
But in
make any
reality, all he did was, spoiler, takes a shortcut
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do it quick to get
Right.
there.
So it makes
So
sense
it's
on
like-
one end, but it doesn't make any sense as in why is he talking
Right,
about
right.
it?
It's like you just took a shortcut. Like anyone can
Yeah.
do that. Like that's not a
Well,
feat.
it's a tough shit.
With literally 1 minute of research, I'm going to have to give the point to Chandler for distance because he did answer first.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I'm sorry, Noah. I didn't mean it.
Unsurprisingly, Chandler won by a landslide.
I'm sorry.
right.
I'm pretty sure he hates himself for it based on the
A
questions.
little bit. I think
Yeah.
my girlfriend behind me said that she hates me because I answered the midichlorians question before you even got
Very
three
quickly.
words out. Yeah, she
You
said
also,
No, it's
I'm pretty sure you abstained from the Jar Jar question.
yes. I did, yeah.
Yeah. It's great. Now we know that Chandler knows everything about the Star Wars prequels. A very
Oh, come on. Yeah, why are they all
Everything
about the
about-
prequels?
He wins.
Chandler wins everything or knows everything about the worst parts of Star Wars. I was gonna ask you guys how many books were retconned, but I couldn't. That's the thing I couldn't
All
find
of
a
them.
number for.
All of
I know. I was gonna get estimates from each of
Oh,
you.
you were trying to. Oh,
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy that no angry neckbeard fan has
Right?
done that yet. They're like, I'm going to calculate everything they got rid of, you know, and they went
I
through
was like, yeah, I
all
was
of the
driving.
extended universe
Yeah.
was in the Jedi Temple when Yoda.
It like pans back and there's just like way more bookshelves filled with Star Wars books. All right, that's all I got.
When can we listen to your show?
Oh, you can listen to my show at noon on Wednesday, pretty much every week. Sometimes I skip a week
On WXLV
on WXLVDX.
no, you should have just said that your time slot's our time slot.
Yeah,
And then that's because that's how you get our time slot.
yeah.
To anyone listening.
I think it's how it
Listen
works.
to
yeah.
their show, and you'll essentially.
Yeah.
I've passed on my spirit into this show.
Much like
Thank you.
Yoda.
Yeah.
What about Scott's spirit? Where's his?
Scott.
Scott's spirit is Scott Tice and Scott Yupa switched spirits.
Oh, is that like the end of I'm gonna mess this
Freaky
up.
Friday?
It's
No.
Face Off.
Return. It was like the end of Return of Jedi. It was
Good.
like the Force Ghosts,
Yes.
Yes.
except it's Storm and Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we Photoshop that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That can be the thumbnail.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you, Oh, wait. There's other stuff we have to plug.
There is.
What do you guys want to plug?
So go out, check out our Twitch channel, Lab 212. We stream
Streaming
Tuesday
all
to
the time.
Friday, like 5 to 10, and Mondays are in the morning, like 10 to 2. Check it out.
Our good friend, Red Flush, finally came
Nice.
out with his album. You can listen to that on SoundCloud, and it's really good.
The intro and outro are by Mungo, another
Yep.
friend of ours,
Today,
Ryan
on the
Flynn.
show.
Yeah, today.
He's coming out with a new EP soon. Also, Crazy Yates, one of our artists on our label, is coming out with probably 2 new tracks very soon. He's finishing them up as we speak. They're very close to being completed, so keep an eye out for those. And subscribe to YouTube and everything else, all of our social media. We're active on everything. The Instagram's blowing up. Everything's blowing up. It's pretty awesome. All thanks
The
to
Death Star's
Rest.
blowing up.
Yeah, the Death Star's
Star's
blowing up.
Star Killer Base is blowing up.
Alderaan
Death Star's
is blowing up.
again. Alderon's blowing up.
Over again. But yeah,
Thermal
thanks.
detonators are blowing up.
Carrying a thermal detonator.
There's so many things. Okay. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening and watching. We'll see you next week. And it's the Poorly Ed podcast. Catch you later. Drive safe.
Catch you
Thanks for
later.
listening. Love you.